Name of the age. As more and more companies announce layoffs and hiring freezes, it's becoming more difficult for workers to find jobs, especially in the tech sector. Joining us now with more on how to find a job in the digital age is Siddhal Neely, Harvard Business School professor, author of The Digital Mindset, What It Really Takes to Thrive in the Age of Data, Algorithms, and AI, and Jason Greer, Greer Consulting, founder and president. Siddhal, do you have an overall feel for what we're going to hear today? Just we are seeing some cross currents, layoffs some places, jobs very tight, and workers companies unable to find the right workers at the same time. What's really happening? It's just bifurcated.
Yes, it's an interesting time in that way. On the one hand, companies are still looking for the right people, are getting less applications than previously, and are still on the market for people. On the other hand, we see many companies that are course correcting or intervening and shutting down initiatives and doing a lot of financial retrenchments as well. So applicants have to be very strong and the right set of lucrative skills for them to find the right jobs. And likewise, companies have to be very thoughtful about how to attract and retain the right people. Interesting times.
Yeah, but Jason, it kind of makes the Fed's job a little bit harder, I would think. What part of the employment arena are they supposed to be looking at right now? The layoffs that are coming, or the shortages that are causing wages to go up and add to inflation? I mean, commodity prices can come down and housing prices can come down, but they're paying attention to the labor market, and it's two different markets, or at least.
I think you can't get around the fact that inflation needs to be curbed, because when you look at a lot of these companies that are doing these layoffs, they're doing these layoffs in advance of the looming recession. So the Feds definitely have to take a look at inflation, but I think on the other side, and Nadal hit on this perfectly, in terms of the job market, I think this is also a wonderful time for employees to start being bold. If you're an employee who's sitting back and you're watching the news, you've seen your friends who've been laid off, you've seen what's going on in your industry, now's the time for you to start working on your network. Now's the time for you to start thinking about your potential side hustle and what that's going to look like. Now's the time to be bold, because you never know. Corporate America can be an ugly game, and it can be cutthroat. So you never know if you're going to end up being the next person laid off. So get ready for whatever that might be.
Siddhal, where are we really missing talent? Steve Leisman did a 3-part series on how we're not, we have this great talent come in from other countries. They get educated at some of our best schools, and then they can't stay. So is that an answer? Is college always the answer, or do we need to focus in on where the jobs are and have specifically that type of technical training and subsidize that? What are we supposed to be doing?
It's interesting, college is, of course, always important, but there's a movement right now where the right skills, skill-based hiring is increasing, where you don't necessarily need a college degree, but you need skills like coding, some quant skills, some statistics or data science type skills, a digital mindset for sure. So no matter even what your college background is, say you have a background in humanities, it's becoming increasingly important in this digital era to speak the language of data, to be able to contribute in an environment where more and more automation is going to be taking over various parts of tasks. So yes, college will always be important, but it's not going to be the only currency for people. Other digital skills will be more and more important to develop as a learning agenda for people.
Jason, you brought up kind of a troubling aspect of this. So companies are expecting a recession, so they start laying off people in anticipation of it, thereby bringing on the recession by laying off the people. I mean, that's not a great way to run monetary policy, it doesn't seem like.
It's a terrible way to run monetary policy. You also look in 2021, you saw employers hiring more than they ever had before in anticipation, especially in the tech sector, in anticipation of more people working from home. So they wanted to overinvest in the tech that they needed for remote work. And it's not currently working out as people are moving back to the office. So you have more employers who are laying off in anticipation of something. But I'm going to say this to the employers. If you are considering doing a layoff, when you look at what's happening in CNN, when you're looking at what's happening in other industries and other companies, if you're going to do a layoff, please be humane about it. Don't read from a prepared statement, because people, especially over Zoom, because people are watching. Because I live in this world that says, I never know who's going to be my next boss. So let me be good to the people that I meet today. Be kind to the people, let them know what's going on, let them know that you value their work, but at least, I don't care if it's over Zoom, I don't care if it's over some virtual space, at least have the courage to look them in the eyes and say you appreciate them. That's the biggest thing.
It almost, Jason, sounded like you described what happens when there's a shortage and people stock up on inventory, then they have too much, and then all of a sudden it goes the other way. So employees can actually be seen as, I guess, sort of corporate inventory, and then it's like a whiplash, I don't know, phenomenon that they actually describe that causes recessions to even be worse than they would have been, because you just hired too many people in the first place. Is that really? And it's Sadal's fault that everybody's working at home. I don't know if you've seen her on here before, Jason, but if you need to point a finger, you need to point a finger at somebody. Sadal, what do you think? So everybody's staying at home, and now there's going to be layoffs because of that.
No, I think it's misplaced to think about the new world of work, which is the hybrid format, as the area to blame for the strategic mistakes or the strategic overreach that we've seen from many leaders and in many organizations. So this talking about remote work and hybrid work in this context is actually not right. It's about strategic priorities that needed to be pruned and honed. And what this means is, for the companies, it's important to remember that you will hire again. And those who are not laid off, who remain in your company, those who are survivors, are also watching. So the cultural problems that are going to arise are by how leaders treat people, how leaders create these strategies and correct them if they're not in the right places. It's not about whether people's butts and seats are in a particular location or not. We're past that.
Although,
We're very
Sadal,
much past that.
Isn't the reality that managers are people too, and it's a lot easier to lay off somebody you don't see on a weekly basis than somebody you're having coffee with every day and kind of sitting there and you know the story about their kids because you chit-chat about it in the hallways? I mean, it's just the realities of human nature. Just like we say meaner things on Twitter than we ever would to someone's face, you're much more likely, when you're the person who's responsible for the 25 people you're in charge of, to cut people who you don't have as close of a relationship with because you don't see them every day.
I actually think that's very, very true, that there's this dehumanizing element if you're not with people regularly. But let's be very honest, when companies are cutting 10%, 11% of their workforce, it's not about the relationship with your manager. It's actual units and initiatives that are getting cut. People with incredible technical skills are getting cut as well. So yes, I think you're right. It's as easy to lay people off if you don't have the intimate relationship with them, the same way that it's been easy for workers to click here and join this company and click there and join that company. But these are the realities today. Developing relationships with people, whether it's virtually or in person, are a set of capabilities that companies, individuals are also learning. So I just worry that we are blaming the actual arrangements of work for strategic decisions, and at the same time, leaders need these digital skills, workers need these digital skills. This is kind of the new era that we're entering. So it's important to know how to develop relationships, whether you're virtual or not. And at the same time, you're right. The fact that people are not spending time together will make it easy for people to be flight risks, as well as for people to lay people off much more readily.
Okay, go ahead, Jason. Yep.
Yeah, but to that point, because I sit in the boardroom with these executives and these leaders all the time, and we've had multiple conversations, especially here in the past year, about potential layoffs. And I'm going to tell you this. I think that the point that was brought up in terms of if I have a relationship with an employee, I've seen that employee, I know what that employee likes to drink in terms of their coffee. That's an employee that I'm going to protect because that's what these managers are saying in these meetings because I've heard it, I've seen it. And it's much easier to protect someone from a layoff when I know someone as opposed to someone that I only see on a screen and I only know them based on their name and the fact that they show up at 5:30 in the morning to have a meeting. So I think there needs to be, we really need to talk about the fact that when we're talking about layoffs, human interaction matters. And I know it matters because I hear these conversations and I've seen this happen over and over again.
Very good. Okay, Jason, thank you. Siddal, thank you. Good to have you on as usual.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you again soon.
Okay, we got a little